Thought I had it figured out. I wish I took a different route. But God came and picked me out. I missed the snout of the beast's mouth. Thought I had it figured out. I wish I took a different route. But God came and picked me out. I missed the snout of the beast's mouth. Leaning in your own understanding is damning. See, I threw my riches to leeches, squandered my inheritance, ample experience in losing my innocence. Kid, slum in a pig dung, running amok. Couldn't believe this. Doing everything contrary to what the Bible teaches. The deeper I went, the further I had to swim back to the brim. And my lungs collapsed because I couldn't breathe in my need. Perhaps I would drown in my disease, gulp in my need, sulk on my knees. My headrest, a pigsty, but in my Father's house I could rest in a king size. He will never leave, nor will he forsake. I need a break from these fatal mistakes. I thought I had it figured out. I wish I took a different route. God came and picked me out. I missed the snout of the beast's mouth. See, I thought I had it figured out. I wish I took a different route. But God came and picked me out. I missed the snout of the beast's mouth. I'm making a comeback, yo. Here's a fun fact, oh. No matter how I act, His love is constant, so I don't continue sinning. But if I do sin, though, He will do my bidding. Win the auction and settle my portion. It's a prepaid, amazing grace. The sun is scorching. Surely your response is key. He will for you because He has for me. There's no sin too big that God won't forgive. He gives hope and charm with open arms to receive you broken. Come. Thought I had it figured out. I wish I took a different route. But God came and picked me out. I missed the snout of the beast's mouth. Now I have it figured out. Yeah, I wish I took a different route. But God came and picked me out. And I missed the snout of the beast's mouth.
And welcome back to PG-13, guys. We are so excited to have you here. My name is Georgina, and here with me we have an amazing, special, and talented guest is Mr. Shaun Barker, aka B. Kindle.
Yay.
That is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
So, before we go into this, guys, please stay tuned with us because after this, Shaun will be performing one of his songs for us. And towards the middle of this interview, Shaun also will be performing some poems for us. Some amazing things to look forward to, so stay tuned. Don't forget to tell a friend, grab a friend, and most importantly, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So, let's jump straight into it. Now, Shaun, welcome to PG-13. Obviously, you are not a new face to this platform. Guys, this is the man with the music. If y'all have watched our conferences and things and the previous years, this is the guy.
Come on.
How exciting, how exciting. So now, first things first, we gotta do our admin. So can you please just tell us who you are for those who are watching for the very first time tonight?
Oh yeah. So my name is B. Kindle, as you've heard, and I am a recording artist under the label Christ Jesus. Yes, indeed.
That is cool. And just another fun one. What is your favorite kind of food?
Favorite kind of food would be my wife's curry.
Oh, okay. Some home-cooked meals right there.
Yes, indeed.
You know what? The next time you come, I think you definitely need to bring us some of that home-cooked curry. Now, just for other detail. What kind of curry is it?
It's actually all our curries. So whether it's lamb curry, chicken curry, curry, it's the bomb diggity. Yes, indeed.
Hashtag shout out to Shaun's wife there.
Yeah,
Wink, wink,
to
nudge,
Shaun
nudge.
Barker. Hey, babe, what's up? What's happening? Yeah,
All
miss
right.
you. Oh.
So now people want to know, obviously, you're in the music industry. You rap and you rap Christian music. But I'm more interested to find out, when did you actually become a Christian?
Yeah, so it's been something that's always been on my mind as a kid, because friends of mine always used to tell me about this Jesus Christ and how my life will be changed, etc. But I really started taking God seriously in 2006. I used to go through my life just wanting to fit in and doing whatever necessary in order for me to fit in those circles that I was in. And it got to a point where I've always been involved in music, and we used to rap on the corners and whatever. And one day, I ended up in an altercation where I ran into my room afterwards. I shut the door, threw my bed upside down, started shouting at God and saying, "Why is this happening to me?" etc. And I got a call that same evening from a friend of mine that I was working with at the time in Cape Town, and she invited me to church. And needless to say, next day I go to church and the pastor is preaching, but it was almost as if he had a conversation with me and me only, answered all the questions I had in my head, and it just, had an altar call. I took about 10 or so minutes to muster up the courage to get up and go and give my life. But did it. And ever since then, 2006, been gunning for the Lord. Yeah.
Wow, what an amazing. I always just love that moment, guys. Like, personally in my relationship, I always just find that God is the most hilarious person in the world, like when you're at
100%.
your lowest, you're like, okay, but then he just gives you your answer, and he gives you. But I love the fact that you had the courage, when people are called to altar calls, there's never that moment where they sit and think, okay, this is the moment to change. And you were right. You needed to have a lot of courage to make that change. So well done on that aspect. Now, you mentioned that you were obviously doing music beforehand, prehand. And so when you became a Christian, were you still doing your normal type of music that you were doing? Or did you stem to something more, air quotes, godly?
Yeah, so the transition was almost instant. However, because of my mindset at the time, and what I used to say in my music, I had to take a couple of steps back, sort of just separate myself from the music aspect and focus on my walk with God. And once I got comfortable with the fact that, I feel like I am a Christian now, and I'm doing the Christian thing. And then I looked at my music and I said, how do I implement that into my music? And I said that when I do my music, it has to be purely about God and God alone. And so I dedicated my music to him. And so since then, I've just been doing Christian hip hop. Although I don't like to call it Christian hip hop, I just like to call it hip hop. Only I choose to speak about God instead of secular things. Yeah.
And that alone in its decision is such an impactful, guys. At the end of this, you can please go and follow Shaun over here and check out his music. It is fantastic and amazing. Now, speaking of your music, obviously we live in this world where everything either needs to be about worldly things or girls and other, ungodly activities. Was it easy for you to stay true to God in your music and not just follow the pattern of the world?
So it wasn't easy at all. You have to constantly remind yourself why you do what you do, and also remind yourself of the commitment that you made to God. At times you would sit back and you would think, I could easily also just do secular music, and I would like to think I have the talents to be successful in that. But it's not what I was meant to do. I was meant to dedicate this unto God, and it was just constantly reminding myself, why am I doing this? The impact it has on other people is the strength that I get to continue, right? So like the testimonies that I get, the encouragement that it gives to young people, that alone for me is all the payment I want. So yeah.
That's amazing. And, while you were speaking, something came to mind, and it goes back to when you were in your youth. And obviously, you said you used to gather on the block with your friends and you used to just have a good time. At what point did you realize that rapping wasn't just a hobby for you, but something that you needed to pursue, knowing that one in a million make it, know it that there's not going to be any money in this industry for a long time, but yet again, you still push through. So when was it that you realized that this is not a hobby, but this was God's gift to me?
Yeah, so when you listen to pastors preach on the pulpit, it's literally, it's exactly the same thing. So I come on stage and I preach, right? The only difference is that I got music and I got some sort of a rhythm going, although some pastors do speak with a rhythm. Hashtag Pastor Mikey, what's up? Yeah, so it is ministry in itself. And so that's exactly when I decided, look, it's not so much, you got to be careful with what you say and what you speak about, right? Especially in the Christian context, because you could easily lead someone astray with the words that you speak, because words are alive. And whenever I write music also, I always make sure that I first sit back and I think about, what am I trying to say? What is God trying to say through me? And I first try and submit to that before I start putting pen to paper. But yeah, it's for the Lord and for the Lord only.
That's amazing. Now, speaking of your process of making music, can you walk some of us through that moment of when inspiration comes or when God speaks to you? How do you take what you've gone through and that time or what God's saying to you and transform it into a song?
Yeah, so you thank God for the talent, right? Because you wouldn't have been able to, or at least I feel like I wouldn't have been able to express it in any other way. And those moments when that inspiration hits, it could be at the most awkward of times. When you in church maybe and the pastor says something and it just hits, and then God reveals something to you and it's like, I need to write this down, but do I listen to the word first or do I write this down? Or you wrestle with yourself a little bit, but in essence it's God leading you also. So you just make quick notes and then you'll revisit it when you have a moment by yourself or whatever. But when the inspiration hits, you just gotta drop everything, because it's hard to remember exactly what was dropped in your spirit at the time. So yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It definitely does. It just shows that you are such a busy person. And I'm pretty sure you are still such a busy person. And being the busy person that you are, where do you find time to make music?
Yeah, that's the difficult part, right? Is balancing your life as a dad, also in the corporate, and then the music side of things, and being a good husband, etc. These are all jobs. It's all jobs that you want to succeed in, but you have to literally make the time, because you life gets so busy, as you say, that you literally have to even at times put an alarm on and say, listen, I'm going 5 minutes for this, 10 minutes for that, plan your day out, that kind of thing. But again, when it comes to the music part, it's when I do have the time, I try and do as much as I can in that time. Yeah. This is how I fight. This is how I fight. See, looks can be deceiving. Don't let it fool you. The odds might come across as even. Nah, let me school you. Versing adversities, powers and principalities will battle thee. But you are immortality stamped, flawless victory. Paul saw this and said to be cautious. At times you would feel sick, tired, and nauseous. But he'll tell the waters to be still. See, I see everything unfold in the folds of his palm. Psalm 21. I've given you tools to get through this. I implore you to endure, to run this race until your feet get sore. Don't be discouraged by the tests. It's to make you pure. We find solace in his holiness. And the goal is this, that we would find peace in our scars. And we would find peace in the utterance of our God. With you, I am well pleased. With you, I am well pleased.
Now, obviously, finding the time is a challenge that every one of us go through. You know, we always get so busy in worldly events that sometimes it is just hard for us to sit back and pray with God. And being in the music industry, we all know that there have been ups and there are downs and there are rough parts. And I'm pretty sure that you, being the artist that you are, have gone through some very difficult times and very questionable times. And how did you stay motivated in that time to say, okay, you know what? This is not the day I give up. I'm going to keep pushing through. And what was your thought process through all of that?
Yeah, so it's much like the Christian life itself. You know, the Christian life is not an easy one because again, you need to constantly remind yourself of why you are Christian and why you in this walk and what is the benefits thereof. Right? So the benefits is bringing others to Christ because you recognize how Christ saved you. And so you have to constantly remind yourself of that. When going through these hardships, I always ask myself the question, the current situation that I'm in, is it about me or is it about God? Right? So if I dedicated my life to Christ back in 2006, everything that I am and that I do is for God, right? And so when I'm going through a challenging time, I have to remind myself that it's not about me and it's about God, and try and see where God fits into that picture. Because a lot of the times we get so consumed with ourselves and we're like, oh no, woe is me. I can't believe I'm going through this, that kind of thing, right? And then I always look back at Job and I think, what if Job was also like, you know what, woe is me, you know, after the first incident of him losing his crop and then, you know, losing his family, and then, you know, when all of that piled up on him, he stayed the course and he was like, God knows what God is doing, right? So if I haven't gone through something that extreme yet, how much more should I just say, oh, God is in control? Yeah.
That's intense. But we love it. We absolutely love it. And I think my last question to you before we go and we take some questions, you know, is what keeps you motivated besides the fact of God now? What keeps you motivated to keep rapping? I mean, anyone can look at you and anyone can be like, oh, you've had your good years. You've had those moments. But what keeps you still in this game, still fighting, putting up a fight to be like, I'm here and this is what I'm going to sing about?
Yeah, so as I said, it's not easy, right? However, I do recognize the need for Christianity to be expressed in different genres, also in different platforms, and different soapboxes, if you may, because we need to get into the trenches where the young people are being exposed to life. And so if I'm not in those trenches trying to express who God is or show them who God is and get them to a point where they actually question certain things, then then what's the point of it all, right? And so I always try and make sure that God is heard in my music. And so if God is part of my music and ministry, then I always have to constantly represent God, right? And so the industry at the moment is so sensitive, is so even Christians are struggling to be Christians, or for us to just be ourselves and to say what we think and to even just say what the Bible says, to stand by that word. It's so difficult because cancel culture, etc., etc. Yeah, that kind of thing. But we have to be there. We have to. Young people need to see that there are people that they can look up to in those industries, and so that's what keeps me going. I feel like I still have something important to say, and I feel like there's not enough of us out there. Yeah.
And we thank you for being one of the voices that, young people can still come to. And we know that this generation likes rap. So we are so grateful that you're providing, material for that platform. And I think it's going to go a long way. So we have some interesting questions for you.
Yeah, let's go.
And one of the first ones is, do you collaborate with other artists?
I do. I am very careful with who I collaborate, obviously, because I want to make sure that whoever I collaborate also stands quite firm in the word, and is God-fearing, obviously. So I do collaborate. I've collaborated with a couple of artists, the likes of J. Dot, Creation Waits, EJ, Goldstone, yeah. Yeah, and some international artists, some known, yeah.
In the presence of a celebrity, ladies and gentlemen.
You know this. Come on.
I'm on it. All right. So our next one is, how long do you think you will be in the music for by your decision? Not quite sure what that's basically asking, but if you understand it, go for it.
I can try and understand it. But I think I'm in it until God says I'm not, if that makes sense. However, for myself and in me making that decision, if it was up to me, I probably would have given up a long time ago. But God probably, God said to me every now and again, hey, this is not what I want for you, so you carry on. Yeah.
All right. And our next question is, why not go into rapping full time? Why do it along with other hobbies and not keep it full time?
Yeah, so the Christian community is not as supportive of Christian rap as we would like. It is difficult for it to be a full-time ministry. Also because there's so much of life that you have to look after as well. The likes of just being, like I said, a dad, a father, a husband at home, and someone needs to buy the nappies. So, yeah, it's not an easy industry.
Wow. Pampers are quite expensive.
Very expensive indeed.
All right, so we have another question, and this one is, how do I know who I should and should not work with in terms of secular artists? Work with some Christian rappers and singers like Justin Bieber, or work with other secular artists. So how do I know if I can work with those artists?
You have to be able to submit yourself to the Holy Spirit's leading, firstly, and then just look at the catalog of work. If it screams God-fearing, then yes. If it doesn't, then no. But I do get that there are some artists that are secular, and they dabble between the two, hot and cold. But that's a very risky place to be in, because you could easily lead someone astray thinking that it's okay for you to be that and not what God has intended.
Wow. And I think one of our last ones is, if I want to get into music, how do I draw the line in terms of what I can or cannot rap or sing about?
Very simple. If it's not in the Bible and doesn't speak Christian, then it's probably not a good idea to put it in there.
All right. Thank you so much. And then lastly, we always like to ask our guests this. If there's any advice that you can leave for our young teens or young adults, or actually anyone watching this right now, what would that advice be?
Stay the course. Stay connected to God. I think everything else follows, as the scripture says. Keep your eyes fixed on God and you will walk on water.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shaun, for being here. Guys, we thank you for tuning in and watching this video with us. Don't forget that right after this, Shaun will be performing for us. So stay tuned for that. Guys, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you on our next video. Until then, stay safe and stay blessed. Have a good time.
Yeah. There's only one hero. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God except through Christ. Christ be the gold superhero in a trench coat. Savior, Savior. Marvel at the God of all of that. Universe. Martyrs is where the heart is at. Lay me down. You're on end, it's the cul-de-sac. We closing in to your soul intact. Yo, who you gonna call is the God of all? With the signal, floodlights, passion of the Christ, you're the Savior life. Tell him he's not to hold his breath. Tribal, yeah, we hold the breath. With the body together, we beat the flesh. S on his chest, he defeat to death. Pray to the King, bring trouble and a double, so we change in the boot. Intercede for the ones who believe. Fully God, fully man, fully Satan's foolish plan. Nothing new under the sun is a copycat. Roadkill, oh well, he was woeful, so chill. Christ came for the saints, paid for our sins, ain't that amazing? Christ came for the saints, paid for our sins, ain't that amazing? Christ will come again, turns to the saints, ain't that amazing? Christ will come again, turns to the saints, ain't that amazing? Yeah.
He was Barabbas.
They wanted Barabbas, yo.
He was Barabbas.
He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God except through Christ. Christ be the gold superhero in a trench coat. Savior. Marvel at the God of all of that. Universe. Martyrs is where the heart is at. Lay me down. You're on end, it's the cul-de-sac. We closing in to keep your soul intact. Second for a second, now I'm back in. Bible thumper, pride piper, pro-lifer, might smite you with a mighty cipher. 16 bars is a work of art. God is all that I speak about. Yo, you bringing whipped cream to a food fight. The food I bet seems a little unfair. Yo, you poking a polar bear, hoping I fall like a folded chair. Golden when I'm holding a flare, soldiering for the souls of my peers. Steady on a hilltop, ready with the zip up, ready when the beat drop, ready so the kick rock. Words spreading like things I will pick up. Behind the tongue, so I'm gum clapping. Hey, what happened? Glad you asked. This is it. Christ came for the saints, paid for our sins, ain't that amazing? Yeah. Christ came for the saints, paid for our sins, ain't that amazing? Christ will come again, turns to the saints, ain't that amazing? Christ will come again, turns to the saints, ain't that amazing?
Crucify him.
They wanted to crucify him. He was willing. Here's a backstory. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God except through Christ. Yo, Christ be the goat superhero in a trench coat. Savior. Marvel at the God of all of that. Universe. Martyrs is where the heart is at. Lay me down. You're on in, it's the cul-de-sac. We closing in to keep your soul intact. He willingly gave his life to draw us back to the Father. It is done.
It is done.
Thank you, Lord. We glorify you. There's only one hero.